If you want to see me acting in a piece of live theater, go and see me as Samwise Gamgee in the 1-hour Lord of the Rings trilogy presented by Magic Smoking Monkey Theater. The show will be running from August 9th through the 17th, 2024 at the Lift for Life Academy in Soulard. Show information and tickets will be in the description below. And now, time for The Little Mermaid. Hello folks, and welcome to Jack Reviews Musicals. If this is your first time seeing my face, hi, my name is Jack, and I am a musical theater superfan based in St. Louis, Missouri. And this is my YouTube channel, where I share my thoughts on all of the musical productions I go out to see. In this video, I will be talking about the third production in the Muny's 106th season, The Little Mermaid, which played July 8th through the 16th of 2024. It's a tradition at the Muny where at least once per season they present a musical that is geared towards children, so that parents and grandparents can introduce young children to the magic of live musical theater. And this year, that show just so happens to be The Little Mermaid, the stage version of the classic Disney animated movie, the one that kickstarted the 90s Disney Renaissance that gave way to Disney mainstays like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, and so forth. The Little Mermaid was the film that single-handedly revitalized the Walt Disney Company for better or worse. This is the Muny's third production of the stage musical version, the other two being in 2011 and 2017. The latter I actually saw. And just like with Les Mis, in comparing the old versus new productions, the new one turned out to be the superior one. The Little Mermaid is a musicalization of the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, centered around Ariel, a teenage mermaid who is the princess to Triton, king of the sea. Like many Disney princesses that came after her, Ariel yearns for a life beyond her duty to her kingdom, desiring to be a human on dry land. She's friends with a fish named Flounder and a seagull named Scuttle, who both bring her artifacts from the human world that she keeps in a shrine. This shrine becomes a source of frustration for King Triton, as well as his royal consort, a crab named Sebastian, who both blame the human race for the death of Ariel's mother. As is true to the mermaid mythos, Ariel is also a siren with a voice that enchants anyone who hears it. Soon enough, her voice catches the ears of Eric, the teenage human prince of a nearby kingdom, who would much rather be a sailor out on the open sea, much to the chagrin of his legal guardian, Grimsby. While on the sea in hot pursuit of Ariel's voice, Eric gets his ship caught in a horrible storm that tosses him overboard. Ariel sees Eric's drowning body in the water, and she decides to rescue him, swimming him safely to shore and using her siren song to heal him. Saving the life of a human turns out to be the last straw for Triton, and he destroys Ariel's human shrine in a fit of rage. So Ariel swims away heartbroken. And along the way, she comes across Triton's sister, Ursula, the Sea Witch. Ursula and her moray eel henchfish, Flotsam and Jetsam, hear out Ariel's plight, and so they decide to present her with a bargain. Ursula can use her Sea Witch magic to transform Ariel into a human, but only for 3 days. If Ariel cannot get Eric to profess his love for her within that time, Ariel's soul will be forfeit. And the only way that Ursula can make her magic work is if she harnesses the power of Ariel's voice. Ariel's desire to be human overshadows the value of her voice. So she accepts Ursula's terms and gets herself a pair of legs. Ariel finds Eric on dry land pretty quickly, but because Ariel lost her voice, she can't tell Eric who she really is. So that means the two of them now have to fall in love with each other naturally in 3 days. Coincidentally, the third day happens to be Eric's birthday, where he will be presented with princesses from all over the world to sing for him, so that he may finally be able to find the woman who rescued him. All the while, Ursula uses Ariel's absence as an opportunity to usurp Triton's crown, a crown that Ursula sees as hers by right. And now we have a high-stakes adventure romance on our hands. Fins. The Little Mermaid is a time-tested classic. It's a wonderful musical for all ages. It's a beautiful story, accompanied by a beautiful score by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. These are all songs that you know inside and out. Under the Sea, Part of Your World, Kiss the Girl, Poor Unfortunate Souls. They're really catchy, really memorable, fun classic songs that are just right for this story. To expand the story to musical length, we get some new songs by Alan Menken and lyricist Glenn Slater, and the movie's script was adapted for the stage by playwright Doug Wright. The new songs that they came out with are actually pretty good. Eric's character gets further developed with his own I Want song, Her Voice, where he pines for Ariel. Ursula gets a backstory song called Daddy's Little Angel that's pretty fun. Even Scuttle gets her own song. Positivity is the Act 2 opener, where Scuttle and her seagull friends use tap dancing to encourage Ariel to walk for the first time. The new songs in the show are quite good, however, I do think that Doug Wright's book loses itself towards the end. It's a case of late game syndrome. The ending of the stage version plays out very differently from the movie. The resolution is rewritten to be a bit more tame. There wasn't really much about the second half of Act 2 that thrilled me story-wise, so the proceedings ended up being kind of anticlimactic. But the rest of the show was really good, up to that point. I indicated that this recent production of The Little Mermaid was superior to the one that the Muny did in 2017. And the big reason for that is because of the directing. Every single element of the production that came together felt much more creative, much more imaginative, much more daring, and it did much more to use the Muny stage to its advantage. The director of this production is John Tartaglia, a name that you may actually be familiar with. In the world of musical theater, he played both Princeton and Rod in the original Broadway company of Avenue Q, and he was also Pinocchio and the Magic Mirror in the original Broadway company of Shrek the Musical. And Tartaglia is a Muny darling, both as an actor and director. Recently, he directed the Muny's productions of Mary Poppins and Beauty and the Beast, both of which you can read my reviews for on jackreviewsmusicals.com. This is the third show that Tartaglia has directed for the Muny since the pandemic, and all three of them have been Disney musicals, something that happens to be right in his wheelhouse. John Tartaglia is no stranger to immersive live theater experiences for children that make liberal use of puppetry and special effects. And his interpretation of The Little Mermaid at the Muny really is magical. So much so that if I were to see this exact production in an intimate setting, let me tell you, kids will go feral. The production design of this Little Mermaid is so vibrant and colorful, starting with the set by Anne Beiersdorfer. The set utilizes a sort of glittery mosaic tile motif to really capture light and make everything look like it's being reflected off of ocean waves, and even simulating the texture of the ocean floor. It's really detailed, and it's a really dazzling effect that translates well to the Muny stage. But that motif could only be augmented by Catherine Freer's video projections and Jason Lyons' lighting design, both of which featured some pretty fun uses of neon lights, as well as really cool stage effects. They created an entire hurricane, they turned Ursula into a giant, and they summoned a whole kaleidoscope's worth of undersea creatures. The costumes by Robin L. McGee and hair and makeup by Ashley Ray Callahan are also excellent. They recreate the looks of the characters perfectly. And the colors on the undersea ensemble are just eye-popping. They even used the same set design motif for the outfits on the puppeteers to help them blend into the background more. Yes, John Tartaglia tapped into his puppeteer roots for this production, utilizing hundreds of unique puppet characters designed by Eric Wright. The decision to have certain characters be played by puppets was actually pretty smart. It really helped to distinguish the fish from the merfolk from the land creatures. And I say land creatures because the seagulls are not puppet characters, which makes sense. Positivity is a tap number after all. And the major puppet characters were actually really accessible for children. It's much easier to identify Sebastian and Flounder if the characters looked exactly how they did in the movie. The puppetry on the villains was also really creative. Nicole Parker as Ursula is placed on a pedestal while her tentacles are operated by puppeteers that move them individually, literally bending over backwards just to make Ursula walk. The puppets for Flotsam and Jetsam use the wingspans of the actors playing them, one arm to operate the head and another arm to operate the tail, making them move around like eels. Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl had the most puppet characters that I have ever seen at one time in a piece of live theater. Though I did feel it was a bit of a missed opportunity to not use the giant pufferfish as a beach ball. I am a lifelong puppet fan, and I am also a puppeteer as a hobby, so the amount of craftsmanship and dedication to making these puppets work is something that I really have to commend the Muny for doing. The choreography by Patrick O'Neill is nice and lively, and it features some really cool flying effects. Scuttle flying over the stage, Ariel swimming to the surface after she gets her legs, and of course the entire storm sequence where Ariel saves Eric's life. They were all really something to see. It's the most I have ever seen the Muny use flying on their stage, and the work is done brilliantly here. Though as for staging, I could have used more kitchen shenanigans from Chef Louis in Le Poisson. The musical direction by Michael Horsley sounds exactly like the movie, giving the orchestra and the cast the heart and soul that they need to perform this score. Though maybe a bit too much. There were some moments where the cast got a little bit pitchy with their enthusiasm. I did see some kids in the audience covering their ears briefly. But again, it's very brief. Overall, the cast did a wonderful job with the score, especially Savvy Jackson as Ariel. At the time The Little Mermaid first came out, Ariel was actually praised for having the most agency for a Disney princess in a long time. It actually set the precedent for every Disney princess that came after her. And Savvy Jackson represents that spirit very well. She pours every ounce of emotion that she has into her voice. Her rendition of Part of Your World earned a wild applause after the song's climax. Her level of enthusiasm for this role makes her adventurousness, her curiosity, her desire to be human endearing. And Jackson's physical comedy during Ariel's mute scenes was really fun to watch. You really get to see her fully embody that exploration and curiosity, which are represented by Jackson's hilariously frenzied movements and expressions. Michael Malayakel as Eric is a nice compliment to Jackson's Ariel. He's full of that same independence and spunk that also contributed to strong on-stage movement and vocal power. Malayakel and Jackson's chemistry together was very strong, even though their characters have only known each other for, 3 days? Well, to be fair, for Disney, that's a long time. Muny favorite Ben Davis as King Triton is wonderful as always, convincingly switching between regality, rage, and regret that gives way to tenderness as he tries to fight the prejudices that keep his daughter from following her dreams. It's a very well-developed performance from Ben Davis. Nicole Parker as Ursula definitely went for a more over-the-top campy portrayal than in the movie by Pat Carroll. And I'll be honest when I say that As much as I think Nicole Parker gave a very strong comic performance, I don't particularly care for the interpretation of Ursula being just a screaming queen. Now, she is an icon in the queer community, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely going to be doing a Ursula drag cosplay one of these days. But I think the reason why Ursula works is because not only is she funny, she's also genuinely threatening. She is the type of villain who is not afraid to lure you into a false sense of security and then threaten your life with her full throat with all the malice she can muster. And I think the Muny tried too hard to soften Ursula, to make her more kid-friendly. And combined with how the show adapted the ending, it definitely lowered the stakes of the story a bit. Nicole Parker's portrayal was a bit too similar to the portrayal of Flotsam and Jetsam, who were played by Kennedy Kanagawa and Adam Thane, respectively. Those two actors were pitch perfect. I mean, quite literally, their voices as Flotsam and Jetsam just oozed sliminess and ickiness. It legitimately felt gross listening to them. They just radiated pure glee in their deviousness. They would have been a nice foil for Ursula had they went with a more legitimately threatening route for her. And real quick, I want to talk about another performance that I don't think is really up to snuff comically, and that's, oddly enough, Christopher Sieber as Chef Louis, which is kind of disappointing because, you know, as much as I think Christopher Sieber's vocal performance as Chef Louis was, really strong, it got a lot of heft to it, and his French accent is hilarious. His physical comedy chops aren't very strong. Le Poisson, his big number, just had him standing around in one place for much of the time, not really doing much of anything but singing the song. There were a lot of missed opportunities for Christopher Sieber to just go cuckoo crazy bonkers inside of this kitchen, and the number ended up being kinda dull. And it would have been especially fun considering that Sebastian features prominently as a physical presence in the number, just getting tortured by Louis chefs. I think seeing this puppet of Sebastian moving around this kitchen in creative ways to avoid getting caught would have been hilarious to see, especially because Sebastian's performance by Fergie L. Philippe was just so strong. Probably the strongest of the whole cast. Out of all of the major puppeteers in this cast, Fergie L. Philippe definitely had the most experience, and it shows. He exercised complete and total control over Sebastian. He did an excellent job of communicating really subtle changes in expression and did really intense choreography without stumbling for a second. His voice was spot on. He feels genuinely invested in every second he is on stage. And you really feel the love that he has for Ariel and Triton with every breath that he takes. When Fergie L. Philippe as Sebastian leads both Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl, you really do feel the fun, the fancy, the magic, the romance, in the most extreme sense of those descriptors. To the point that he just completely disappears into the background. He's just right there, in the role. He is a living, breathing Sebastian. Definitely one of the best puppet performances that I have ever seen in a piece of live theater. But that's not to knock the other puppeteers. Oh no. There is one more I want to talk about though. Leia Rhiannon Yogi as Flounder. Leia Rhiannon Yogi has actually been a member of the Muny's in-house team of child and teen performers for several years, and she has definitely earned her stripes to be Flounder. She was a great puppeteer, really holding her own against some of the other more experienced actors. She had a really great Flounder voice, and she developed a really charming connection with Ariel. Jen Cody as Scuttle really nailed the character's trademark squawking voice, and makes the ways that she mispronounces certain human words endearing. And also, for having such a small frame, Cody actually is quite acrobatic. Backflipping, cartwheeling, hand-springing across the stage, even getting to fly at one point. And she's a great tap dancer, leading the Act 2 opener Positivity with aplomb. Rich Pisarkiewicz is a beloved St. Louis actor, having performed at the Muny for upwards of 45 years. He even got to host a docuseries about the Muny's history, which you can watch on their YouTube channel, link in the description. His interpretation of Grimsby in The Little Mermaid marks his 87th character at the Muny, and he gave a warm, impassioned performance that really makes Grimsby's love for Eric clear from the beginning. This is a really great, passionate role for Rich Pisarkiewicz that he really sinks his teeth into, and he is wonderful. In fact, wonderful is the word that overall I would use to describe this production of The Little Mermaid. It's not perfect, and there were definitely some missed opportunities. But I really have to be fair to them because they only had a 2-week rehearsal period and only 2 weeks to perform the thing. But to have such a brief period of time to put this all together, but still having all of the creativity, all that passion, that enthusiasm, and the imagination and talent to craft the most dazzling production that they could against seemingly impossible odds, that is what makes this Little Mermaid the one for the books. They have definitely created a lot of lasting memories for the children that watch this production, including the young at heart. I am very much looking forward to seeing the Muny's next children's musical in 2025. So, did you see the Muny's production of The Little Mermaid? If so, what did you think about it? Also, question of the day, what is your favorite Disney movie, animated or otherwise? I'm a Mary Poppins man myself. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! Once you answer these questions down in the comments, you can take a plunge down to my website, jackreviewsmusicals.com. All of my reviews are there, including written reviews that I have published since the start of 2022. And if you want to see me acting in a piece of live theater, come and see me as Samwise Gamgee in Magic Smoking Monkey Theater's 1-hour Lord of the Rings trilogy, playing August 9th through the 17th at the Lift for Life Academy in Soulard. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any more St. Louis musical theater reviews coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, long live the musical!